I was very successful, making tons of money out of art. Everything was perfect. But deep down inside, I felt that there is something wrong here. I can't trust here. I can't trust my kids here.
You wanted to get to leave. You didn't want to have to leave.
You're reading my mind, or I can't pay the school tuition fee for my kids.
When they approach you to do a mosque, a place of worship different than Harout's place of worship.
It's Allah's home. Allah is the same Allah for Christians, for Jews, and for Muslims. And I feel the blessing while I'm there.
How do you get to design the landmark mosque in Lebanon's capital?
At that time, Prime Minister Rafi Al-Hariri and his circle were my clients.
This is after the Civil War. What was your perception of the Hariris before you met the Hariris?
That's very interesting, because
what do you see in the golden ratio that makes you feel like there's an answer?
Everything in nature has a certain calculation, to the trees, to the clouds, to the stars. There is something there. The closer you are to that thing, the more beautiful things get. Somebody did it. Something happened that they are all following the same rule. It's not that it just happened.
You see how you mentioned that you feel the energy when you walk into a place of worship? Did the energy ever make you contemplate Islam?
I haven't talked about this.
I'm always very interested, you can tell, of stories of perseverance, number one. Number two, how religion, faith intertwines with your daily lifestyle. And Harout is a decorative artist. So he decorates the interiors of structures. He caught eyes when he did the decorative work inside the Al-Amin Mosque in downtown Beirut. What's interesting about Harout is he's Christian, Armenian, and he got very well known for decorating mosques. And that's the point that kind of caught my eye and my attention. So we were going to talk about that, why he left Lebanon, how he got into it. He has a very different perspective on how he sees God through the golden ratio. And I have a feeling that you guys are going to enjoy it. Subscribe to the podcast because I really need your help to make this grow. Like the episode if you enjoy what you hear. And with that being said, let's get the show started. Welcome aboard Middle East Airlines.
والمتوجهة إلى
طيران الشرق الأوسط يرحب
مدينة القدس العربية.
I always start this off with self-introduction on your part. And I can introduce you and I can tell everyone what you do. But I think a nicer introduction would be how you see yourself, not how the world sees you. So when you look in the mirror, who do you see?
Actually, I don't like to look in the mirror. So if I want to talk about myself, I am Lebanese.
In a self-reflective way. Like when you sit and think, who am I? What do I do? What are those answers like?
Okay. I'm a Lebanese of Armenian ethnicity. I was born in Lebanon. I was raised in Lebanon. I always loved art. Art was part of my life. I saw everything within colors and shapes. And I loved outdoor activities, somehow extreme sports. I am happily married, father of 6. I have wonderful family. They are like my priority. I worked so hard in my career. I studied and worked, and I was lucky to be successful, appreciated for what I do. And I enjoy life, I enjoy my career, and I always look forward to huge projects where I will enjoy what I love to do in life.
You mentioned that you're Armenian. How has Armenian culture kind of impacted your life? Like, how is it a part of your life?
Okay, I don't have the Armenian nationality. I'm Lebanese. I have the Armenian ethnicity. My grandparents.
What's the difference?
I'm Lebanese, but of Armenian descendant.
Okay.
So my grandparents were persecuted during the Ottoman era, the Armenian genocide, and they left the areas which is Turkey right now, and they ended up in the Middle East.
Okay.
So my parents, I went to an Armenian school. I studied Armenian as a language there, in parallel with French, Arabic, and English. So it's only like we are of Armenian descendants. And regarding how it impacted me, one of the things that I'm proud of being an Armenian, during the civil war, Armenians never ever interfered in the civil war. They are hardworking people. They worked so hard and they contributed to the country, or they contribute to the country they are in, and they are loyal to the country they are in, so they live in. So this was the biggest plus I see to be an Armenian, and like I'm proud to be of Armenian descendant, because Armenians in general are hardworking people and they are achievers.
Harout, how much of Armenian history do you get told as a little kid? How much of it do you know?
I'm not following up much nowadays, but at school, at high school, they taught us all about Armenian history.
Okay.
Everything related to Armenian history in parallel to the world history, the Lebanese history and the world history. So in general, yeah, I know a lot about Armenian history.
Okay, but so that is something that is taught from a young age.
Yes.
Okay. I was also curious to know, that incident happened at the late 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, in that time frame?
It was during the World War One.
Yeah. But the early history of it started in the 1800s, I was saying. And I mean, that's about 100 plus years ago, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long ago, right? And I wonder, culturally, how that has shifted Armenian culture. Like, what was it before the Armenian genocide and how it switched, or what parts of it switched after? Because when you lose 1.2 million people, there has to be a part of the culture that shifts as well, a different approach to life.
I think it's 1.5 million people,
1.5?
as I know. Yes. Like, what I understand, what I see from my own perspective, if I don't want to go back to history books, I remember my grandparents used to speak in Turkish at home with my parents. And it was funny, like when I traveled to Turkey once, I arrived at the airport and I could understand everything they are talking. I didn't know that I know Turkish. It turned out that because of my grandparents, I knew Turkish. I understood Turkish. So that's the positive part. The negative part is that they were in the larger Ottoman Empire, which was like part of Armenia in it. And they were living in that empire, my grandparents. And they were persecuted and they had to leave. If I want to talk about only my perspective, will not go to history books. I remember my grandmother with tears telling stories about the persecution, about how they had to leave. They were kids, how they lost siblings, relatives during when they left what was Armenia at that time. So these things, like you're a kid and listening to your grandparents, to what happened to them, it leaves a mark in you. It's not that it just happened. It's not that the idea, sometimes they say nothing happened, there wasn't any genocide. My question is, how, if all those people were living happily, they said, okay, let's leave this country, go through the desert all the way to the Middle East, like to Lebanon, to Syria, to all that area, leave our homes and tell our grandchildren's lies about it. Something really bad happened. and it left a mark in us in the future generation.
There aren't too many countries that say that there wasn't a genocide. I mean, for the most part, it's recognized as a genocide, right? I know that Turkey has a hard time saying it. It says that it's crazy because when you correlate what's happening in today's world and what happened before, I was listening to something on the Armenian genocide, and they said Turkey didn't say that it was a genocide. They did recognize that it was very hard for the Armenian people, and the casualties were unfortunate. And you talked about parallels, and we see what's happening now, where Palestinians are going through a genocide, and Israel says no, these are unfortunate casualties, and this is not a genocide. And Israel is only one of the countries that doesn't recognize the Armenian genocide officially. They don't think it happened. So it's very interesting seeing history kind of repeat itself, and that course of action happening to another civilization as well.
I don't know the exact political reasons why some countries accept, some countries don't accept the Armenian genocide. The only thing as a human being, if I look at it, okay, the police gives you ticket for not stopping on the stop sign, or running the red light.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only giving you ticket for what you did at that time, to teach you a lesson, to teach others a lesson, to teach your family a lesson that this shouldn't happen.
Right, warning.
Yeah, so I think it's all related. If like governments or countries were held accountable for what they did, no new country will do the same thing again. So it's related.
Right.
I don't know when like the whole world will wake up and say enough is enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a politician, but this is how I see it.
What part of the story that your grandma tells you still think about or still lives with you?
Not much. I like to just forget and forgive and forget and keep on moving. But still, like as a young boy, like 5-6 years old, listening to those stories, it's disturbing, you know.
You know why I ask you that? Because we're about to go into your line of work and what you do, and it's very difficult what you do, and I just kind of think about myself, and sometimes what keeps me going and what pushes me to excel and try to do better and better and better is thinking about the struggles that my parents had. Like if I think about the hard times that my mom went through or my dad went through, I get really motivated, and I'm like, no, they didn't go through that for nothing. I'm here. They did the sacrifice. Now it's my turn. And that's kind of how I reason with myself when I feel unmotivated or I don't really want to do this. So I just assumed that maybe you think about what happened to your grandparents as a motivator sometimes. I just thought that maybe some parts of that story still live with you today.
I'm not sure about that part, about like my grandparents, but coming from the Middle East, from Lebanon, being born in the 1970s when the civil war started, going through all the difficulties, like being persecuted, having to leave your home, losing close friends during the war, and searching for better life, it shapes up your personality more than what your grandparents tell you. So in my case, like I lived the war. I've been through so much difficulties. I escaped that several times. My left ear is almost deaf from a shell that hit our neighbor's balcony when I was a little boy. Yeah. So all those stuff like shape you up. the difficulties, the recent financial crisis in Lebanon, it give it, I find it as a blessing, you know, as a blessing for me, like to feel younger, like a fresh graduate moving to the United States and trying to start from nothing and trying to make something out of life. So it doesn't bother me. I don't want to sit down and like cry on what I lost, what happened. I just went in the plane, closed the shades, and looked forward, and never looked backwards when I moved here. And I want to do something out of life. And I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. I really feel young. And I see my kids being very successful in their colleges, at their work, whatever they are doing. I find it such a blessing.
Before we talk about how you came here, let's talk about your story in Lebanon. So what's the actual job title that you hold?
I thought about it for a long time, and I think the best title to fit my career was decorative artworks.
Decorative artwork.
Yeah.
You worked, so for people who don't know, Harout decorates mosques, churches, houses, but you really caught traction when you did the mosque that's now almost synonymous with Lebanon and Beirut, the big Al-Amin in downtown. But let's talk about how do you get there? How do you get to design the landmark mosque per se in Lebanon's capital?
I was in my early 20s when I started in my career in the decorative artwork, and it was in the 1990s when like the civil war ended and the country was booming. So it was the right time for so many Lebanese coming back to Lebanon, buying houses, building and decorating, doing some decoration to their houses. So it was very easy for me to get numerous projects, have a big work team helping me, and climb the ladder. So at that time, the Hariri families, the late Prime Minister Rafi Al-Hariri and his circle were my clients. And for them, I was doing some of their palaces with huge domes, with lots of artwork in it. And they were very happy with the results they were getting. So at that time, they had the Baha'u'ddin Al-Hariri Mosque in South Lebanon in Saida. I was the best candidate to do the decorative artworks there. And it was a bit shocking for me because like the dome was 700 square meters, huge dome. They asked me, can you do it? As a young 20-something-year-old guy, I was like, yeah, I can do it. So it was, at that night, I couldn't sleep thinking about how I will do it. I said, yes, I can do it, but how I will do it. But it was easy. Like within 2.5 months, I was able to complete it. And it was like really successful project. And one of the things is that I was like from the first people who used digital technology to enlarge the large-scale drawings on the dome. And I was able to finish something in 2.5 months, which should have taken a couple of years to complete.
How do you get introduced to the Hariris?
Through their circle. Yeah.
Because, you're right. It's one connection that gets you the big projects. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
But how do you get connected at first? Like, what's the story of that first connection? Because there's something also that this is after the Civil War. So, and in the Civil War, the sects and the different religions were killing each other. It was a bloodbath. But how was your perception being after the Civil War and you're like, okay, I have to go and do the Hariris palaces? Like, what was your perception of the Hariris before you met the Hariris?
Uh, when the civil war ended, like they took guns from people, and the mobile phones were like introduced at that time in the 90s. So people had mobile phones. Instead of shooting at each other, they started calling each other. So for the Hariris, like I did the decorative artworks for a restaurant in their neighborhood. And it was a very successful job. Like people went to that restaurant and they were happy with what they saw. And they asked me to do their palaces, their houses. That's how I was introduced to the Hariris. And it was like really very successful. They were very happy with the results.
Did you have a preconceived notion of how they would be, of like how their character would be going into it? Because you had to at the end of the Civil War, your early 20s, like.
During the Civil War, I was in the East Beirut, and there was West Beirut. The people from East, they used to shoot at West Beirut. From West Beirut, they used to shoot at East Beirut. But I knew that there are so many good people there, because I grew up in a village in Hamdoun, where we had like Druze and Sunni Muslim, Shia Muslim, and Christian neighbors, and we were friends. We used to play with one another, like, and our parents were friends. I used to go to the next door mosque and play with my matchbox cars on the carpet, like use the carpet patterns as a road. So I knew that we are good people. There is war, but we are good people. And after the Civil War, like the Hariri Foundation helped lots of young people with their with scholarships, with their education, regardless to their religion. So it was obvious that everything ended, and it's over, and hopefully it's over forever. So for me, like I didn't have any tensions that, well, these people shot at us in the few years ago. No, it wasn't like that. So it was like very easy, and I was welcomed, and they were looking for somebody who can do the job. They weren't looking running a check on his religion or his ethnicity or even his political views. I don't have any political views, but like they didn't care about it.
Yeah.
They looked at you as a person, how you can do the job they are asking you to do.
Did you feel pressure?
Not at
going
all.
into the palace, because now you just switched from doing the restaurant across in that neighborhood to doing the palace of the prime minister. So is there additional pressure that goes into that?
It's matter of like time frame. A huge project, you need to have more employees. You have to like be on top of everything. It is difficult. Like you have to work 18 hours, 16 hours a day, and be on top of everything with your employees, with whatever is necessary, scaffolding, whatever it is. But it was fun. And for me, one of the things that helped me in my career is that I loved outdoor activities like paragliding, cliff climbing, all those like, I love the adrenaline rush. And climbing those scaffolds, like being on inside the dome, which is like, I don't know, few 100 feet high, it was fun for me. I enjoyed it. And while others were afraid, other artists were afraid to go up there. And I knew how to do it. I could see like colors, patterns. I could imagine the artwork before it finished. So no, it wasn't pressure. It was more like fun and challenge.
Okay. And was the mosque inside of the first mosque you did?
Yes.
Okay. So what I was thinking about is when they approach you to do a mosque, which is just a place of worship different than Harout's place of worship. You go worship at a church. They tell you, we want you to design this mosque. Is there people you take advice from? Like, hey, do you think I should do this? Like, this is a mosque. Should I do a mosque, or because it's a different religion, should I stick just to churches? Like, is there a conversation? If it's not between you and someone else, is there a conversation between you and yourself initially?
Between me and myself, I thank God for giving me this opportunity. like allowing me to decorate his home. And if there is anybody who will give a suggestion, no, you're a Christian, you shouldn't go and do the artwork for a mosque, I will definitely avoid that person. I don't want to be around that person, because that person has issues, and I don't want to be around people with issues or anything towards other religions.
So you're still thinking that even though it's not your faith, you're still thinking this is God's home, even though...
For sure.
Okay.
Yes, for sure. And I feel the blessing while I'm there. It doesn't matter. I don't know. It's Allah's home. Allah is the same Allah for Christians, for Jews, and for Muslims. It's a blessing. I never think about it that way. Anyways, I see it God's home. That's it.
Forget the decorative part. Let's talk about how you personally view God and religion as Harout. How do you see it?
One of the main reasons that I believe in God, one God, there is a supernatural power which is above our thinking, is through art and mathematics and the golden ratio. Anything in nature, even if you look at the cosmos, anything in the nature, it has a certain calculations which leads to the golden ratio. And for me, the golden ratio is the handprint of a creator. There is no way that the Big Bang happened and suddenly all this, the perfection in numbers happened. It can't be. There should be something there. So there is no way that there is no a power somewhere that created this thing. So for me, yes, I believe in God. I believe in God not because they taught me in the Bible or in the Holy Quran or anywhere that there is God. Not through fear, through what I see, I experience in art and in nature. And whoever has doubts, I ask them to just do a little research about the golden ratio, and they will realize that yes, there is something there. And the golden ratio is something totally scientific.
We're going to take a little break and talk about the sponsor of today's episode, Whoop. Look, having resolutions at this point of the year is common. We all do it. We're all going to start prepping our lists. And almost on every single list that you have, you're going to have a fitness-related resolution. Whether it's losing weight, whether it's improving your sleep, whether it's going to the gym more consistently. And to do that, you're going to need something to track your progress and to help you with that goal. And Whoop is a fitness wearable that stays on your body 24/7. It tracks your strain, which is the amount of work that you put your body through each day, your sleep, and your recovery. Through all that tracking, you're almost guaranteed to reach your goals coming next year. And because you listen to the podcast, Whoop actually has an offer for you. You can try out Whoop for free for 30 days. You go to join.whoop.com/notfromhere. You receive your Whoop, you try it for 30 days. If you like it, you keep it. I kept mine after my 30 days. And if you don't like it, you get to return it. No questions asked. Go to join.whoop.com/notfromhere or hit the link in the description below to get started today. And now let's get back to the episode. Harout, isn't it fascinating that every person finds God or feels God in different ways? You'll have people that some strange stuff happen with them, and then they think these aren't coincidences. There's someone planning behind the scenes. I can't see what the creator is doing, but he is putting these stuff in place. This stuff cannot happen at a coincidence. Then you have other people that read the Bible or read the Quran and say these words make so much sense And then there is a God that put these into place, to put the system into place. And then you have people that look at art, which is a very unique perspective on saying God's alive, God is there. There is a creator, because the golden ratio or the mathematics make it seem like there has to be someone that created this. Everyone's different for a lot of people, but the end goal is the same.
Well, I gave you my perspective, and I see like other people have have been through different stuff in order to feel the existence of God, the Creator, and like in my way of thinking, I'm very skeptical in so many things. I always have questions, but I have answers. If we're talking about the Creator, I have exact answers through science, through art, through numbers. This is my own perspective. So and whoever believes without seeing, okay, that's good. That's great. Whoever doesn't believe and have so many questions, it's a very big debatable issue. But my only answer for them is just watch a little video about the golden ratio. There might be some answers there.
What do you see in the golden ratio that makes you feel like there's an answer? What about the golden ratio? And what is the golden ratio for people who don't understand?
It's a mathematical calculation where everything in nature has a certain calculation. Let's say like the human. Let's talk about the human body. The length and the width of your eye. If you divide it, you will have the number 1.618. A leaf on a tree, if you divide, it has a certain calculation which leads to the golden ratio or the Fibonacci sequence. The beehive, if you calculate the number of male bees and female bees, you have the golden ratio. Anything around you, the cosmos, the shape of the spiral shape of the snail shape of the cosmos, it is related to the golden ratio. So it is there. And whoever created this microphone created the cosmos also, because it's like whoever created the elements of the microphone, not the microphone, it is there. And in art, whenever you use the golden ratio, whenever you stick to those numbers, for sure you have excellent results. You have the right results. So I use it in art, in my work, and because I see it and reflect it in my work, and for sure I'm on the safe side.
Do you remember the moment where you realized that everything is part of the golden ratio and you connected it back to God?
That's very interesting, because I never knew anything about the golden ratio, but I saw it because during my childhood, during the war, no electricity, whatever it is, I had so much time in nature. So I used to look to nature, to trees, to the clouds, to the stars, everything around me, and see that there is something there. There is something, the closer you are to that thing, the more beautiful things get. And it has happened like throughout history. People did artworks without knowing about the golden ratio, but now they do calculations. They say that, well, it contains the golden ratio in that artwork. So I saw it, and I was amazed when I was taking a course at the college about the golden ratio. I was amazed, like, how come? Like, this is something I thought about it all my life, but didn't know it. Like, I didn't know how to explain it, how to calculate it. I think the golden ratio dates back to the Greek civilization. They were the first one I think they were the first to realize that and built their architectural monuments according to the golden ratio.
So it was at school when you saw it, you were like, oh, this is what I've been thinking about. But how did you tie it back to God?
The golden ratio, the creation, everything around us. It's somebody did it. Something happened that they are all following the same rule. It's not that it just happened.
Okay. So that's how you thought about going inside of a place of worship and designing it from the inside and doing the decorative artwork. When it comes to Islam particularly, I know that there are a lot of rules to how to deal with the word Allah, for example, or verses of the Quran. Do you know that beforehand, or does someone tell you, like, hey, you got to be careful with the word Allah? It has like, these are the rules for it.
In calligraphy, like there are different types of calligraphy, but it's all it has calculations, like where the diacritical notes should be, how the Allah's name should be written, and how it should be. So and the Arabic script is like very sensitive. A dot can change the meaning of a whole verse. And for sure, like I have professional calligraphers helping me in that, and I always have it proofreadden with different scholars to make sure that everything is right. There are no mistakes. Everything is in its right place. Nothing has changed the whole meaning or whatever it is. Regarding art in the mosques or churches, whatever I do, I use the golden ratio because this is how it should be. It's not that I like using the golden ratio, others don't like to use it. The closer you are to the golden ratio, the more artistic results you have. And I have to be like very cautious because like I'm doing artwork for a church, for a mosque, which will last for centuries and centuries. And there will be lots of critics studying, taking measurements, explaining stuff. So I have to make sure that it should be perfect. I don't have other choice than doing perfect job. And it's not only golden ratio in the geometric or floral designs or whatever it is. You have to always use the golden ratio even with colors. Color.
Is there a golden ratio
intensity.
for colors?
Somehow, yes, I see it because the colors, like they don't move only horizontally or vertically. They move in 3 dimensions. So this is like it's very difficult to explain. Like it's like how much, let's say.
I know there's saturation, the saturation of the color. Then you have the hue of the color. And what's the third dimension? Dimension, is it the intensity of the color?
Yes, and how to use it, like how to manage those colors together, the different layers, in order to get the final result. And like for art students, it's like throughout training, you can put the golden ratio in your work throughout training, and it becomes somehow automatical. Like you don't have to do calculations. For like eyebrow tattooists, they have a certain tool that gives the golden ratio measurements according to the eye shape. So you don't need that tool anymore because you can see it. It's part of you, part of your overview to art.
Harout, is it the golden ratio that they test on faces, and the closer your face is to the golden ratio, the prettier that face is?
Yes.
Is it the same thing?
Yes, and even all the body shape, like like everything. The closer you are, the more beautiful, or the more attractive, or more appealing to the eye you are.
How interesting. Is there a difference in knowing that you're going to design a mosque versus knowing that you're going to design a church? Are there elements that you use for Islamic art than others that these are for more of Christian art?
Yeah, for sure.
What are those elements?
like in Islamic art, it's we don't use any human figures like in churches. That's one of the things, and it's more with calligraphy. Like the calligraphy, the words of Allah are important. The main elements that we use with the floral or vegetal forms, and it also depends on like which sect you're doing the artwork for.
Oh, does it differ?
Yeah, somehow like some of them like it. Some mosques like they like it. They don't want to have anything. Very simple, very nothing, so that people will concentrate only on praying, not like artwork. Some mosques, like the Ottoman mosques, there are so many beautiful Ottoman mosques where they put a lot of artwork in it, because to show their the art of their civilization, about to talk about somehow about who they are. So one of the biggest changes between a mosque and the church is that in churches you have icons, you have pictures. In mosques you have the calligraphy. And what I have realized that in Islamic art, the Arabic calligraphy, it's so beautiful with so many different characters. Instead of like painting human figures and explaining something, a story, they worked more on the calligraphy to make it artistic with all those flows. So that's the difference. And I think like in churches they used pictures to elaborate some stories, because most of the people at that in the past were illiterate, so they can look at the picture and understand the story like
through the
behind
visuals.
it. With the Muslim culture, I think that like most of the people used to read, so they were able to read what's written.
Do you travel a lot to see other mosques? Like Turkey has some like very nice mosques, or like even now in the Gulf, in the Middle East, there's a lot of nice mosques. In Iraq, in Iran, like do you have it in mind that I have to go see like what other decorative artists did, maybe get inspo from that, or you just
When I was hired to do the Amin Mosque in Beirut, they wanted something with Ottoman touch. So at that time, I took 2 weeks off and went to Istanbul, visited 63 mosques.
63?
Yeah, in 2 weeks, and did such a research to understand things better. And I came back with everything with me. I know how to do it. Yes, I will do it. So, and it was very easy to complete the project.
Do you design it on paper first, and then you start painting?
It goes in different stages. I do some of the sketches. I have my cousin in Lebanon. He's a graphic designer, and we've been working together since I started with mosques in the 2000 maybe. So he understands things. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I just take the measurements, do some notes, make some little sketches for him, and he understands it, and he works as a graphic designer, prepares everything. So there will be a lot of back and forth, like let's change this, let's do this, let's do that. And we prepare the study, the proposal for the mosque. We work together to complete the study for the proposal. So after having the agreement with the client on the proposal, we go more into the small details and prepare the patterns on large scale. Like I do the patterns on large scale, and I use them to reflect it on the domes. And it is like throughout experience you learn a lot, because the shape of the dome, it has its mathematical peculiarities, and it's like it's curve, it has a curved shape. So the human eye should see the curve with the curve with the dome, like
The perception after the curve.
yes. So there are so many things like I learned throughout this career how to do it, how to have a end product which is appealing to
The person standing, yeah.
down there. And one of the difficult things about the domes, you have a scaffold all around, and you're working on a close distance, going around and doing your artwork. But you can't just move the scaffold and look at it. Okay, it looks nice. I have to change this. I have to do that.
Right.
So it's not like you're painting on somebody's ceiling and you can just like kick the ladder away, get down, kick the ladder away and look at it.
Right.
So you have to do all your studies, the colors, the patterns, everything. It has to be perfect so that you'll complete the job and then unwrap what you did.
Do you also have to do studies if you're doing a mosque in America versus doing it in Switzerland or doing it in Nigeria? Is there cultural elements to each country that you think about implementing in that mosque, or do you concentrate on no, just Islamic culture, we're going to do this how like we're just going to do some Arabic calligraphy and integrate the Islamic culture here? How does that kind of work between mosques in different countries?
It depends on the sect sometimes, and it's for instance, I did the Islamic Association of Greater Detroit Mosque in Rochester recently, and the community there are Indo-Pakistani community. So I used some of their art, their elements in the mosque. And one of the things I have to point out that I never copy exact patterns and just put them there. Art is dynamic. It's always changing. So I always I have to follow a certain school, certain design patterns, but I do the changes according to the project I'm working on. And I have done like 45 domes, half domes until now, and none of the mosques look the same. You can see my touch in it, but none of them are the same. It's like I never use the same replica. For sure, the verses, the calligraphy, it is the same. There are some like beautiful verses that fit at a certain space, but other than that, the patterns, the designs, they are totally different. Colors, patterns, designs. Art is like infinite.
Yeah.
Why like copy something and keep on doing it?
I was thinking about this, and let's say I was wanting to budget to design this room or like to build out this room. I would think about the electricity, plumbing, equipment, the flooring. But how does budget allocation work on projects that big? Like,
it's nothing. What I get paid is nothing. It's like it doesn't go above 5% of the cost of the whole project. Usually it's 1%.
1% labor?
1%. The artwork, the whole artwork that I do, what I quote the project, usually is something between 1 and maximum 5% of the cost of the whole project.
Okay.
Like
you mean the whole project as in building the mosque?
Building the mosque, everything. Everything inclusive. Okay. And but on the other hand, when you Google any mosque that I have done, the first thing you will see the mosque from outside. The next picture will be the dome inside what I have done, and it will be like it's the pride of the mosque, the artwork that I did. It is the mosque. It becomes part of the mosque. And so budget-wise, it's not a big investment. It's nothing related to what
Wow.
you get. Yeah.
I thought it would be a way bigger chunk than 1 to 5%. Like I was reading, I was listening to a news report, and this is how I kind of want you to talk about how you came to America. But the quote for the Islamic Center of America that's here in Dearborn was like $200,000 to decorate. And people look at, like, he would hear this number and be like, that's an insane amount of money. But how much time does that take from you to prep, study, the actual work, finishing touches?
It's always the same thing. I sometimes I think about it and can't believe it. The exact time that takes with me to do the preparation, study, pricing, collecting all the elements, being ready to execute the project. Let's say if it takes 2 months, it takes exactly 2 months to execute the project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is like, I don't understand how this works, but this is how it works. Even if I know how to do it, I have all the, I have the know-how to do it, it's still the same thing.
Harout, how did you come to America?
By plane.
What's the story?
With the financial crisis,
But where does the story start? Take me back to originally.
In 2008, I came and helped with the Islamic Center of America. I was here for a couple of months.
You know what the problem is? You're humble and you won't say. You'll say right now that you came and you helped with the Islamic Center of America. But what you did was, they were building the Islamic Center. They reached out to you and they told you, Harout, we want you to do this, quote us on it. And the quote was $200,000, and at that time they couldn't afford it. So they were like, they held back on it. And then you call them a couple weeks later, and then you say, I'll do it on me. I'll do it for free.
Couple of years later.
Oh, was it a couple of years later?
I think so.
Okay. So you call them a couple of years later and you tell them, I'll do it for free. Why?
I was born.
Was it that simple?
I was sitting in...
I don't think that's just boredom. There has to be something else
No,
to
I'm
it.
kidding. I was sitting in my garden home. I was very successful, making tons of money out of art. Because with a quart of paint, you can make $10,000 in art. And I was sitting in my garden, looking around my kids, playing happily. Like I felt like I'm so much blessed. Like God has blessed me so much. He allowed me to do the artwork in his houses of worship. I have a wonderful family, wonderful, healthy kids around me.
Mm-hmm.
Life is good. And I thought to myself, what did I do in return for all these blessings? And I was just sitting and thinking and remembered that these people wanted me to do their mosque, and they didn't have the means, the financially, they couldn't do it. So I was like, okay, let me do something good. I'm always taking. So let me do something good in return. And I just held my phone and called them. I told them, here, I'm ready to do it for free. And it was a great experience for me.
Did they believe you at first?
It's their problem, I don't know.
It's too good to be true. You're saying a $200,000 project you're going to do for free. You're going to...
Well, they paid for the scaffolding. They paid for whoever we employed and worked there, for the painters. It wasn't like, no, at that time, Dr. Nasib Fawaz financed everything. But I didn't want to get paid anything. I didn't get anything for the work I did. But they paid for the graphic designer, for the calligrapher, the paint they bought, whatever. Like, all were financed with Dr. Nasib Fawaz.
Was it purely you wanting to give back, or were you planting a seed of wanting to move out of Lebanon?
I never thought about moving out of Lebanon because I had, like, my business was booming, and like at that time, I remember during the financial crisis here, houses that used to cost 600,000 cost like they were 200,000 at that time. And I remember at that time when I came here, they told me, why don't you buy a house here? I told them, how does it work here? They said, now you can buy a house for $200,000 and you can pay it to the bank, I don't know, for 20, 30 years. I was like, what? 20, 30 years I have to pay back to the bank? Like I'm the bank's slave for 20, 30 years to own a house in this country? I can make 500,000 a year out of a brush and a bucket of paint. And I don't want to be somebody's slave for 20, 30 years in order to have a roof above my head. So nothing crossed my mind that I want to stay in the States or I want to plant seeds or anything. It was like just somebody passing by. The way, like I've been to 37 countries, some of them were for work, some of them were for mountaineering or tourism. So United States of America was one of those countries that I put a pin on the map at that time. But in 2021, I came begging to this country, please let me in. I want to be your slave. I want to have a roof above my head.
Why? What happened?
Well, with the financial crisis in Lebanon, like I'm not the stingy type, but I don't spend stupid money. So we worked as any Lebanese, like we worked so hard, and we were like we had our savings to have peace of mind in the future. And with the financial crisis, everything disappeared.
So all your money was in the bank?
I forgot about all those stuff. I'm looking forward now. I don't want to think about it or worry about those stuff. It's over. Right here, right now.
That's the mentality.
I'm still young. I have a lot to accomplish.
The financial crisis happens. Do you panic at first?
No.
You just know that there's a problem. I really need to find a solution. Maybe staying in Lebanon isn't part of that solution. Because Harout, there's this problem, and like everything, you're going to sit down with yourself and you're going to think, how am I going to get through this? Is number one on the list call the people from the Islamic Center of America? Or they're somewhere on the list, but are they number one? Like, you've had to have thought about other things before saying, I want to call these people.
Look, this is a complicated issue.
Okay.
My grandparents went through the Armenian genocide.
Mm-hmm.
During my childhood village had so many issues. Friends, people died in our home, taking refuge in our home. We weren't there. We were in Beirut. Thanks God, we survived. My father lost his business. The Middle East, Lebanon, it's always up and down. You have always issues. In the 1990s, I was very happy that, wow, I'm doing something. Like young 20-something-year-old guy buying a nice piece of land, building a nice house the way he likes it. Everything was perfect, okay? But deep down inside, I felt that there is something wrong here. I can't trust here. I can't trust my kids here. Like, something will happen. So, by the way, I haven't talked about this before. In 2008, 8, when I came here, I have already applied for immigration to Australia. It was like I got all the points, everything necessary, and I was ready to move to Australia at that time. So I wasn't thinking about United States, staying in United States. But for me, I always wanted to make sure that my kids in the future won't pass through what I have passed through. I wanted them to be in a safe place, a democratic country where there are human rights. You don't have to belong to somebody, be somebody's people in order to succeed, in order to survive. That was embedded in my brain at that time. But no, I never thought about like moving to the United States. So what happened? So the idea was there that I want my kids to be in another country. I love Lebanon. I love its nature. It's a beautiful, beautiful country. I have so many beautiful memories in Lebanon. It shaped me up. Lebanon is my mother. Okay? I can't divorce Lebanon. It's me. It runs in my blood. Okay? But I have to move on. I have to figure out a way for my kids not to go through what I went
And this is
through.
before the crisis or after? Or
Way before the crisis.
okay.
But
So even when life was perfect, even when you were making tons of money, you have the house that you want, you're seeing your kids play outside, even before all that, you knew that with as perfect as life looked like, you wanted to leave.
Yes, because you like you see, you feel that there is something wrong. There will always be something wrong.
You probably felt though that you would leave on your own terms. You would be like, okay, I made a decent amount of money living here. Now let me use that money and go elsewhere. You didn't plan to, oh, when I lose everything I've ever worked for, now I have to leave. You wanted to get to leave. You didn't want to have to leave.
You're reading my mind or something? When I first got my check of $326,000 from a big project, it was like one check. It was the biggest check, first biggest check I ever get. So I went to the bank. I put the check in my account. The bank teller made a mistake. He didn't read the zeros. He put like 326. I told him, oh, wait a minute, it's 326,000. And he looked at me, wow, this is like big money at that time. So as soon as I put that check in my account, I put the check at the bank in my account. I went to the Australian embassy. It was like in the early 2000s. There was nothing. The war has finished. The country was booming. I went to the Australian embassy. I took all the necessary documents to migrate to Australia. Because for me, like, why Australia? I wanted to go somewhere, run somewhere far, far, far away. That was the idea.
Yeah.
So I didn't go to Australia. I didn't. I got all my documents were there to move there. I didn't go because something happened throughout my life. That's why I stayed in Lebanon, and I let go the immigration. But the main idea was to just run away. Even if you're living in heaven, you should leave this heaven and figure out a way for your kids to survive.
But you ended up staying.
Yeah.
The knife in the back, the knife that went through your back that day, isn't necessarily the loss of the material, like the actual money. It was the loss of the hard work, because you had built this for years, you know, and then you wake up one day and it's all gone. And you say that you didn't, like, you weren't nervous, but there has to be like fight or flight that gets activated, because you've worked for all these years and then overnight all the work is gone.
The knife wasn't in the back.
Where was it?
The knife was coming. I could see it. The knife was in the heart, in the chest. And I knew it's coming. So it's not a big issue. And whatever you built, okay, whatever I built is here. I can use it. And I have, like, I learned from so many failures in life and from trial and error how to perfect my art. Now it's here, it's in me. So I have it with me. So I don't have anything to worry about. And anything financial, it's not like a matter of numbers. It's not a big issue. Really, it's a blessing to lose and restart and have the whole energy and like feel young and alhamdulillah healthy. This is a blessing.
So when the financial crisis happened, you call the people of the Islamic Center of America?
Yeah, Haj Ali Faiz, we are like he's like a father for me. We are very close. In 2008, when I worked at the Islamic Center of America, did the artworks, I stayed over at his place. Him and Allah Yarhama Hajj Wanda, wonderful people. I spent such a wonderful time with them at their place. So there was a friendship, and he used to call me, always call me, check on me, whatever it is, and ask me like, is everything okay with you? And I was like, yeah, alhamdulillah, everything okay. Until someday, like, I was like, Hajj, no, nothing is okay. I'm not doing fine. I can't like pay the school tuition fee for my kids.
It got that bad?
Yeah, it's like I was like, I just burst. I can't take it anymore. Like I can't take it anymore.
You're talking about putting a $326,000 check in the bank at one point to not being able to put your kids through school.
Well, it wasn't only with me. Like it was with everyone. It was the same. You go and beg for money from your bank. Like, yeah, this month we can give you $100. Next month $200. It's like, let's not talk about it. It's a corrupt country with corrupt mentality, with bunch of thieves. I don't want to like go into that discussion. I don't want to give them any importance. I just want to forget about them. They hurt all the Lebanese, all the ordinary Lebanese, not corrupt Lebanese which are like related to somebody, I think. So it's done story, that one. But the idea, yes, it was difficult. Like it was really difficult at that time. So I told Haj Ali Faiz, can you help me move out of this place and like take my family and try to put my efforts in a different direction to save us from here. And like he did anything in his power in order to contact the attorney, to contact this, contact that, prepare everything for me to move from Lebanon here. And like within a year from that phone call, we were in the plane heading to the United States.
How old were you?
3 years ago, 48, 49.
You know what's crazy is that people look at themselves at that age, and unfortunately this is the mentality that I see with our people, that they reach those late 40s, early 50s, and they're like, khalas, we're done, like we already did what we had to do, and now it's time to retire, or we don't have the capability of doing more at this age. Like we already did our thing. At that age, you started a new journey.
That's a blessing.
That's a mentality that we really don't have between our people. That at 50, like most people would have been like, they would have been devastated by the loss. They would have sat home, cried about it, and people wouldn't have came to Harout at that time and told them, why are you doing this to yourself? And why are you so upset? Because people would find it as reasonable. Oh, Harout lost everything. He's approaching his 50s. What else can he do? That's the mentality that we have. Your mentality was, you know what? Let me make a phone call and maybe I can move out of this country and start again at 50.
I have a boat with 6 people, 7 people in that boat. So I don't have any choice. I have to save those people, if it maybe sometimes I think about it, if I was single, no kids, no wife, no family, I might have sat in my garden, planted some cucumbers and tomato in the summer, and lived happily ever after, because I might have had satisfaction with what I'm doing at that in the countryside where I was. But no, like I had people to take care of. I had like kids. I have to think about their future, and voila, like whatever happened, whatever we went through, it was a blessing. Like I don't know. What I see, like sometimes comfortable life teaches people to be lazy, makes people be lazy. So I was blessed not to have a comfortable life, and like really I feel so energetic. I wake up at 5, 6 in the morning, like I want to conquer the world every day the same thing.
What are the thoughts that go through your head on that plane on your way here? You're the man of the household. You have your family with you.
I truly believe that if you want to succeed somewhere, do something and succeed, you have to concentrate where you're going. I believe in multiculturalism, whatever it is, but I truly believe that in order to succeed, you have to be integrated to the country, to the place where you're going there. It's not that, yes, culturally, I am Lebanese of Armenian ethnicity. But for me, going in that plane and moving to the United States, okay, even though like I was moving to the United States with work visa and nothing is certain, I might not be allowed to stay in this country and leave back to Lebanon. But for me, it was like, I'm going somewhere, I want to be part of that country. I want to teach my kids to be part of that country. I want them to know that, okay, we are under this flag, we are according to the rules and regulations of this country, and we have to work hard in order to live the American dream. So for me, it was like closing the shade in the airplane. I didn't want to look to Mount Lebanon from the window anymore. It was like I just closed it, and looking forward, I have 20 something hours of airports and flight, new life. Let me see what I will do there. Let me put all my concentration to where I'm going.
How has it been so far?
Always ups and downs, but good. Like really good. Like it's difficult to start from zero for me. Even though like I was lucky to do like some major projects within the last 2-3 years. I work hard. Whatever I can find, I just grab it and work, give the maximum I can do. But what really makes me happy to see the success of my kids. Like they are brilliant students with all the scholarships they are getting, their extremely high GPAs. Like I'm happy to see my kids being successful, doing something out of life, working so hard, paying their tuition fee, and doing whatever they have to do with work and study and having promising future.
You feel like it's worth it?
Yeah, for sure.
Harout, what's a dream project that you, like, you're an artist, you're aspirational, you know? What's a dream project that you have in your head? Like, you know how they say, like, oh, this is on my bucket list? Are you familiar with what a bucket list is?
Yes.
Okay. So what's a project that would be on your bucket list that you would like to do?
Art project or?
Yeah. Like a personal art project.
I really want to do a synagogue. Because recently I got Art and Culture Award, 2023 Art and Culture Award from the Ministry of Culture in Lebanon. And they mentioned that you're the ambassador of of peace and like coexistence between religions. So I want to add to the two major religions like Christianity and Islam, Judaism also, like
Okay.
to that list. And I want to do the artwork of a synagogue
Okay.
to show that we are peaceful people and like we are open to anybody.
Yeah. This is a question that I've been thinking about since we started this conversation. You see how you mentioned that there are, like you feel the energy when you walk into a place of worship, when you're working in a place of worship. Did the energy ever make you contemplate Islam or look deeper into it?
It's, you know, few days ago, I was watching a video about Lebanon. So it shows the Amin Mosque and the cathedral besides it. It starts with the ringing bell of the church and continues with Allahu Akbar. And I just like sat down and started thinking about my childhood, about these two calls of prayer. I lived in Bhamdoun, and every day in the summer afternoon, like the mosque was exactly next door to our house. And whenever I hear the call for prayer, I have a nostalgia about my childhood, how it was. And then I remember at 5 o'clock, the church bells were start ringing, and my mom will take us to the church. So I don't know, like I find so much similarity in them, in both religions. Like it's like two different people looking at the same light from different perspectives, but it's the same light. It's the same thing. Like for me personally, it's like somehow so similar, both of them. I don't know, like other people maybe who grew up in a neighborhood where it's only Christian, they know only the bells of the church inspires them or gives them this spiritual feeling. I don't know. And one of the things that I'm really enjoying here in America, so I live in Fairlawn Woods next door to St. Sarkis Armenian Orthodox Church, where I go on Sundays, and the Islamic Center of America next door. So sometimes, like, let's say during Ramadan, I have my two daughters, 4-year-old and 8-year-old. We go to St. Sarkis for the Sunday Mass, and then we go during Ramadan to Islamic Center of America because the girls like this tent of Ramadan, the decoration, those stuff. So it's like my little ones are enjoying like both religions.
Yeah.
And one of the other funny things is that sometimes I will be going to St. Sarkis Church, but because I go a lot to the Islamic Center of America, sometimes I, instead of like going to the St. Sarkis Church, I continue to the Islamic Center of America, and my wife starts laughing. Come on, it's Sunday, we're Christians, turn around. So, yeah, so like this is awesome here.
Yeah.
In Dearborn, in where we live, with like this being here around all these different churches, different.
It's a beautiful
mosques.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful perspective. Well, Harout, thank you so much. This is a fantastic conversation.
Thank you.